And so that's one of my favorite things that I tell a lot of my students is like, all right, you don't need the brand new camera, and you're not just going to be a professional because you go out and get the best of the best gear, but it's also just finding the story and finding the truth of why you want to do something. And
lights on the set, the director's late. The cameraman sneezes, oh what a fate. The coffee spilled, the script's all wet. But darling, we ain't started shooting yet. Actors rehearsing with lines gone astray, improvising words like it's Broadway's play. The boom mic drops in a hilarious dive, but somehow the scene comes out alive. Oh,
this is why we do
Hi
it.
there. Yeah. Welcome to Anecdotes video podcast.
We did 3 hours and we only got 0 footage. It was great.
Just stop. Our guest who's chiming in over here is Dylan Maris of White Donut Productions. Yeah, we had a small technical glitch that really kind of messed up my timing, but that's okay. Life is good. But we're here, and welcome back to our podcast. Dylan.
Yes.
Thank you. I know you have. We haven't talked before, right?
It's been a while.
It's been like at least 2 minutes. This is pretty good. Well, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? I know that for the most part, a lot of times on my podcast, I like to talk about, we basically stay in the narrative realm, narrative film, and local filmmakers and writers and so on and so forth. But you do a lot of event stuff as well. Tell me how you got into it.
Okay, so when I was younger, my mom got me an XSI camera, and the little Rebel XSI, and that was what kind of established me into like the world of seeing through like an actual camera that I could put in my hands and just kind of get visuals. But then, so a few years after that, she got me that camera. I went to Australia and I was on a trip with just my friends, and we kind of, we came from like no money, but we're like, all right, let's just kind of all save up and go somewhere. And then like when we did that, we were out there. And so I had that XSI camera, and that was when I was able to kind of like go through and take imagery. But people were always like asking me like, what do you, like I had one friend, he's like, what do you even do with those photos? Like, why do you even do that? And so then I took that camera and then I went out and I was documenting, and there was a girl on the beach, and she was taking food, and she was giving it to the seagulls that were flying around in the air. So I ended up getting a story from her, and then I asked her, I was like, why do you even do this? And she's like, well, I feed the seagulls because like who else is going to feed them? And so that was kind of like me going out there, and then I took a picture. And when I took that picture, I came back and my friend's like, still, like, why are you doing that? That's just so, like, I don't even get why you do that. So it kind of, like, lit a little fuel under me. And then I took that picture and then I put it on My Shot National Geographic. And then I didn't even pay attention to that contest, and I just kind of left it. And then like a year later, I got contacted by them, and then they started sending me money for publishing it. And then they put me in magazines and, like, started sending it around Europe. And so I ended up like getting money from it, and I was like, wait, I can actually like do this for a living? Like, this is actually possible?
That's pretty cool.
So that kind of got me like started into understanding like, wait, this is a world that I can it'll do.
Well, I think you need to send me the picture so that I can show
Definitely.
everybody.
It was
what that
Bondi
picture-
Beach, Australia, and Dylan Maris, and it'll say My Shot, but it pops up, and that's one of my favorite like little things, because I also teach kids, and that's something that I like to incorporate, is that I had this little Rebel XSI camera, and it's not the best gear, it's just a little kit camera, and it was 12 megapixels, and I used that camera to document a little moment, and then that got me published on National Geographic, and it wasn't the best of the equipment. And so that's one of my favorite things that I tell a lot of my students is like, all right, you don't need the brand new camera, and you're not just going to be a professional because you go out and get the best of the best gear, but it's also just finding the story and finding the truth of why you want to do something. And that's kind of what led into like me teaching as well, is doing video and photography. I do events. I work with like Special Olympics, Habitat Humanity, and then I ran big crews. I've run productions from like $100 to like $180,000, and it's kind of, I can get teams together and then focus on how to like get a job done and highlight the event from video and photography. And I love working with different artists, and everybody has different cameras, different views, so I like to orchestrate and put everybody together.
Well, you mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to get back to it. The idea of you teaching kids,
Yeah.
and where have you done that? Tell me about that, because that's always something that I like to do, is not just kids, but the idea whenever I'm on set and somebody's around, I like to instead of just doing something, I like to show them how and tell them why. Um, where'd you? How do you do that now? What?
So recently, actually, my friend from college, she teaches over at Pope John Paul in Slidell, and she was like, Dylan, like a lot of these kids are interested, but they don't really like. Could you just come guest speak? So I went over there, and I do a lot of guest speak. I speak at Southeastern
Mm-hmm.
University, and I go to different schools, and a lot of time I just volunteer my time to kind of light a fuel under these kids and just like give them a little ambition, because I wish I would have had someone at that age to tell me like this is possible. You don't have to just go work in a restaurant and wash dishes. Like you can actually start an LLC. You could start a company.
Right.
You can be working and have a lot of fun. And marketing is really important for like a lot of companies that just don't have it. And it's like something needed. But so I started doing a lot of volunteering and doing a lot of guest speaking. So I went over to Pope John Paul, and then I was speaking. Then after, I was like, "Well, are any of you interested in this?" So like 5 kids raised their hand, and after that, they stood back, and those are the kids. I was like, "All right, these are the ones that wanna actually pay attention. Like these are the ones." So with those kids, I just said, "Okay, well, what event do you have coming up?" And they're like, "Oh, we have homecoming coming up." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna bring all my cameras. I'm gonna give you headphones, and I brought all my gear, and I put." Every kid had like a camera in their hands, and they had their little earpieces in, and they just were like in a whole different world of just like you see the light in their eyes, and they're interviewing people, and like so it's kind of the idea of like showing you can run a production in school. Like why are schools not doing this? Why don't we have this production in schools where your kids are learning how to document? They're getting it all out there. They're showing your marketing for the school. It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. So
Oh,
I
it
started
is.
doing that as much as I can. And so I went to Pearl River High and did the same thing. But Pope John Paul, they took on the class, and they actually started like the logo. Like they got a logo. They were like, all right, we can do this. And now the kids are really enthusiastic about it.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
and that's my idea, is to just keep on pushing
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I get a lot of career days, and I just do a lot of local school talks and stuff. But I want to start incorporating it and making sure these like schools are actually bringing it into their schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of schools that look at it as, oh, it's too expensive. It's too
Yeah,
costly to do this. And it really
it's
isn't.
not.
It
It's an
really
investment for them,
it
actually.
is an investment,
Yeah,
and you don't need, although it's great to have
yeah,
top of the line, you don't need the top of the line
exactly.
gear.
That's
I
the
mean,
story with the Rebel XSI getting published by National Geographic
that's
with
right.
a 12 megapixel camera. It wasn't even the top camera by any means. It's a kit camera. It's the camera like your soccer mom or your dad gets, and they're like, and like that's what it's like framed at. But it's like, no, these are all tools. Like even with phones, like you can take stunning imagery and you can get a story with it. But if you're capturing something, you don't even get the story, then you have like if I took a photo and then showed you a photo, it's different than if I showed you a photo and had a story with it and showed you like, well, this is why I took that photo. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like journalism with the picture, and like kind of teaching kids like you can tell stories with that. But then having the camera, you don't have to have the cleanest, crisp shot, but it's also the story with it as
Right.
well. So teaching and kind of showing kids like how the cameras work, but then still bringing my big cameras and like the ones that I've saved up for
Hmm.
years to
Yeah.
show them. They do get excited seeing those
You
cameras
let them
too.
touch them?
I actually do, and it like I used to be kind of nervous about it, but then I'm like, when I was a kid, if I would have had someone just let me do that, like it would have opened my world. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe like a lot of the kids that like there's kids that I have shown how to work cameras, and then 6 years later they're doing something with like Netflix, and you're just like, well, okay, that's
How'd you do
insane. And
that?
they're like, well, you kind of inspired me. And it's like, well, this is like, okay, can I get a job? Like, could you guide me that way? And it's
That's
just,
right.
and that's what I love. You just don't
Mhm.
know who's going to do what. And it's just beautiful to kind of open the world to everybody.
Well, this is the thing I want to, like for the schools, it's, we need to open it up to let the kids figure out what they want to do with it.
Exactly.
Yes, you do the events, you do the football games, you do the dances and,
Yeah.
and the homecoming and all that, the graduations even. And those are productions, those are work. You're going out
Yeah.
there, you're doing, you can get credit for doing that. But you also need to let them do their own like ideas that are appropriate school wise. But
Exactly.
you know, don't let the faculty and the adults say, well, you can only talk about this, this, and this.
Yeah.
This is all I want you to do is the news. No,
Yeah.
no, let them go out and have fun with what they're doing. And that's one of the ways to learn.
Exactly.
And it's not just learning how to use the camera, like what button to press
Yeah.
and where to point the lens and all that. It's why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And what is your end result? What is the purpose you really want?
A lot of
And-
personalities come out with that, and
Oh, yeah.
and then that's also one of my favorite things to do. Is I worked with a breast cancer foundation for like 10 years, but people were really interested in it. But we'd have these large events, and then I would also I'd have my really skilled team that I trusted. But then there was also like a position where I could bring in someone that has never even had a chance to be in that position, but then I give them that opportunity and throwing them in there just to kind of just say, here's this camera. Let's see what you can do. And really some of my cameramen that work with me now and camera women that work with me are ones that were just I just didn't want to break the camera, but they're phenomenal shooters. And it's you got to just get thrown into the ring. You got to know all right, this is crazy. But they'd come back to me and be like, wow, this was so exciting. I couldn't even believe I had this opportunity. And I love being able to present that opportunity and getting people actually experience. You got to kind of have the experience. And I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we get kids into the experience
Right.
enough. And that's what I think doing production work and letting kids come into a homecoming. They go into homecoming, they know what it's like. But then when you have a camera in your hand and your other students look at you and you have a microphone and you're interviewing, and then they know it opens up a fun world that is really
It does.
it's exciting, and it gets them excited. And they're like, wait, I could do this. I could be a marketing person. And then watch those kids flourish and not that summer go work. And you can work at a restaurant. That's fine. I worked at plenty of restaurants. I did a lot of jobs. But I want to also encourage kids you can start LLCs. You can learn about your taxes. You can do all this. But at that age, if you know what you're doing at that age, you can these kids can be doing so much more, and they'll
yeah.
love it. They'll actually have a passion for what they're doing, not just oh, it's my summer job. They're well, they're doing films or making this happen. They're flying drones. They're doing real estate jobs, but now that turns into a commercial job, or that turns into a Netflix series, or so there's so many opportunities and doors you can open with this world. That's why I love opening, and that's why when I do my jobs, from Special Olympics, I've flown in helicopters, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm in a helicopter and it's turning sideways. And no one told me to put the seatbelt on, and I almost slide out. And one of the kids is you should put your seatbelt on. And
Well, just think about the shot you get as you're falling from that helicopter.
yeah, see,
No.
then that's what goes viral and pays my
kidding.
legacy. So it's kind of these doors you can open, and you just never know what you're going to get into or who you're going to meet. And that's why it's still exciting. I'm 38 years old right now, and I still see doors opening all the time. And wait, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I love that.
Well, one of the things that I like to do is, I'm now traveling around with my school and other things,
Yeah.
is I don't always have a camera with me.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I have my cell phone.
Oh, exactly.
And it's there's always an opportunity to take a picture, always an opportunity to take some video, and
Yeah.
and I may or may not ever use it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
look at it, but it's let's see, so
Yeah.
that little device that's in your pocket, and everybody has one. You can do so much with it.
Yeah.
That and that's something I think we need to tell kids. They need to tell other people that, hey, guess what? You have the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to have the real expensive camera.
Yeah.
But learn on the little tool first. Learn on the inexpensive, the thing you've got in your pocket.
'Cause then you understand framing, you understand
Yes.
how you're setting up a shot, and then when you get that big camera, it's not as intimidating anymore because you're wait, I already know what I want to capture. But there's a million buttons. There's a manual. I still learn my cameras and just oh, I could have just done that, or I could have done that, and that's 17 years of doing different styles of different cameras and learning different buttons. But you still, when you have just the basics of things and you understand just the workflow.
Right.
It really makes a big difference. And a great thing my mom used to always say is when someone's taking a photo, usually it's because it's the happiest moment. And I love that because it's when someone has their phone out or capturing a video,
Right.
it's it's a happy moment for them. It's so that's what's really great about cameras. It's you see someone like your dad or at a soccer game, it's they're enjoying themselves.
They're
in that
enjoying
moment.
themselves.
They want to capture that moment.
Well, I'm think back to the last video, which was that I took on my cell phone, was just a couple weeks ago, Easter.
Yeah.
Was at my sister's house in Bay St. Louis, and my great nephew, how old, 10, 11, I can't remember, but he's got Downs.
Yeah.
And he was looking at, they had a singer with a microphone and a guitar, and he was just eyeing that microphone like it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And so he goes up there and he wants to sing,
Yeah.
to his grandfather, hey, happy birthday. That's what it was all about. And he was up there. So the guy let him take the mic and sing. And so, it was like the best thing. So he's out there kind of, prancing around, and then he starts singing. Can't understand a word he's saying.
Yeah.
But you can see
the
how
time
much
of his life.
fun he's having, and everyone is
Yeah.
enjoying it, laughing with him and singing with him. And it was, and he was just so proud of himself.
Yeah.
That was a moment to capture. It is, because people are happy and it's
Exactly.
fun. You don't necessarily, people don't like to take pictures and video of things that are not fun, that are,
Yeah.
it's there.
Documenting
You're
and
documenting things, and that's a
it's
different
a whole different process. Yeah.
altogether. But like a lot of these things, when you're doing corporate videos or doing your Lamborghini shoots, or all these other things, it's fun because it's you're trying to excite people.
Yeah. You're finding the different. I love like finding the different angles and the different shot. That's like, wait, how do you make this like creative? And that's like one of
Right.
my favorite things is like going through and like just like, or even when you're saying like with the kid touching the camera, it's just like giving that opportunity, but then like seeing the joy of them and like that hands experience.
Yeah.
It's like, and then no one really like, we didn't have that like when we were growing up. We didn't have cameras like that. So now it's like you have like these iPhones, and these phones are incredible. Like I could shoot a commercial with these phones now, but it's just not going to look as professional.
Not gonna look-
when I show up holding my camera like that.
Right.
But I guarantee that quality is going to be just as good, and I know how to frame it and I know how to make it work. But
Well,
it's a different gear in your hand, and people judge you for that.
That was something that I think we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That it's sometimes the client really demands a certain look to your equipment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they feel like they're not getting their money's worth.
Exactly.
And that's not necessarily, it's not true these
Yeah.
days. But there is something about putting your best foot forward. That's why you wear a shirt and tie to a job interview, and rather than
It's kind of like have you seen that with the guys with the ladder? They get in any event, they just carry the ladder, and like people think they're meant to be there.
They're meant to be there. Yeah.
It's like with my camera, I have literally, when I was growing up, I would just take my 70-200, and that was like one of the first big lenses that I had, and everybody just looks at you like you're a professional because you have this big camera. So I would go in any event that I wanted to, and I would just. But the trick was you just take pictures of the security, and then like you could just kind of go in and like they'd be like, oh, you're meant to be here. And they're like posing, and I'm like you can get into anything, but it's like, come on, you're not even, you're just looking at the equipment and thinking that you're already a professional. And that's like, people don't look enough at the work as much as just what gear you have.
Right. And
It's like,
that's,
why don't you look at the work of somebody as well? And that's a big thing.
well, that's the thing, is that you have you get their attention with the gear, but it's what you do with it that will get them coming back.
Exactly.
And that's something about clients that I think people don't understand, is like they want to get as much money out of a client for a job and then walk away.
Yeah, like what's your budget?
What's your budget? This is what I want. Boom. And they don't think about return work or continuing work for other projects that
And that's-
they're going to hire you. And that's where you make your money.
Yeah.
But you're also making a client happy. He doesn't feel like he's spending a lot of money.
Exactly.
But he's getting the quality work. And so you got to think long term.
And that's something too that I've noticed with a lot of friends and different things is like I can have a 10-year client, and then they can be like, well, we have our marketing for those 10 years, and now we have all this technology. We'll just use that past marketing, and we'll just stop, and we'll save our money. We could save $20,000 on our budget. But it's kind of like taking the chef out the kitchen. Now you're taking away the personality. You're taking away the quality. You're taking away the development. So you're taking away an investment that has got you where you're at.
Right.
But it's also like, like people with different cameras, and they're learning and they're doing that. But it's also the person behind the camera and how you manage a team, how you respect someone, and how you keep flowing. And I believe that's an investment that is very important that people are kind of forgetting about.
Right.
And that's something that is going to be really challenging for people in our industry to understand. Like you can perform, but then can you keep having a client year after year after year after year, and having retainers, having people come back? And that's like when
That's where you got to continue improving. You got to continue making your work better and
'Cause
better
if they
and
can
better.
save $20,000 and say, well, we have the past content, our name's already the name. Why do we need you anymore?
Yeah, but take your restaurant analogy. That's like
Yeah.
a restaurant hiring a Michelin star chef
Yeah.
to come in and cook, 1,000 meals, and then they when it comes time to open the restaurant, they fire the chef and start microwaving to reheat, and here you go.
And then years later, they look and they're
not-
like, well, if people pay attention, if you look at the past
Yeah.
quality and you see how things were, and now they see the quality now, they're like, wait, why is this different?
Mm-hmm.
And then that shows in companies, and it shows the community of how you're respecting, like how you work together in a team. And then that's why I'm getting more into like legacy videos of kind of documenting and the truth of things. Because like when my mom, she passed away from mild leukemia or acute mild, I can't even say the word.
That's all right. Yeah.
But from cancer. But when she, like, just having a video during my wedding, I had a little guest speaking camera up. My friend that does video work with me, he was helping with the camera, and he got my mom in front of that camera, and she left me a message and just said, I love you. I'm always with you. I'm never going to leave you. And that video, like, changed my life after she passed away. It was like everything I ever needed just to feel like she was still around. And it's like those legacy videos are the truth of things,
Yeah, we had to take a break. We had a little bit of a thunder boomer go by.
Tornado watch go into play.
Tornado watch, a lot of strong rain and thunder, so it was kind of annoying the recording as you might expect. And as you can see, I went out in the rain, so that's why I don't look as pretty as I used to.
And that's why we're hat.
So we're back, and that's why the man in the hat wears the hat. And that, I believe, is going to be the title of this podcast episode. Dylan Maris, the man in the cowboy hat. That's right, the man in the
I
hat.
started that. I have the email, that cowboy hat guy, because everybody was like trying to get me for video photography. They're like, can we get that guy with the cowboy hat? So now I have that email, that guy with the cowboy hat at gmail.com.
I like that. The guy with the cowboy hat at gmail.com for Dylan and White Donut Productions. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I wanted to do was bring up your logo, the White Donut logo, and
the 2013 design.
The 2013
We
design.
just stuck with it.
I know. Well, I like it. Like I said, it looks like the Simpsons,
Simpsons,
pink donut, with the sprinkles on
I'm
top.
a 90s like guy too. I'm born in 86, but the 90s are a big part of my life, so that fits well.
Well, why'd you come up with White Donut?
So I was actually just eating a bunch of donuts, and we're coming up. We're like, all right, we're gonna have an LLC name. We're going through all these names, and it was me and my other friend Patrick, and I was eating white powdered donuts. I was like, well, who doesn't like donuts? And he's like, I was like, do you like donuts? And like we just started asking him. They're like, yeah, I love donuts. And I was like, well, we gotta have like a name that just like kind of just something. And so I just looked at a powder of white donuts, and I just said White Donut Productions. And like, so it just kind of stuck with it, because I was just like, well, all right, I like donuts. And then, but the thing is, everybody thought I was a bakery for a while. And like, everybody was like, oh, so you do a bakery? I was like, no, I do video and photography. And so,
I don't know. I could use a dozen donuts right now.
see?
That'd be great.
and I used to, when I deliver my films, I would always get like a bunch of donuts with my, like, you give them like the film or the content, and you just give them donuts. But now everything's online. So I guess I got to ship it to them.
Ship them a certificate suitable for framing. You can
Exactly.
get a dozen donuts
Fresh.
on us. That's right.
Bunch of donuts.
Well, that's where you could actually get sponsorships, from Krispy Kreme or Buttercrisp or somebody. Here you go.
They won't make it to my clients. I'll be going through all those. That's the donuts, the way to my heart.
It happens.
And it's fun. We also did like stickers and like Special Olympics, and like a lot of the kids.
Oh yeah.
I could not get enough stickers of donuts, and like everybody. And then I did. I was working in a shipyard and doing droning and like just doing a bunch of documentation for them. And grown men were just like taking all of my stickers, and like they're putting on their helmets and their tags. I was like, man. So it really has been a fun logo to go with. So we just stuck with it past 17 years.
Well, I love it. I mean, if you have any extra stickers, I'll take one or two to put on my counter in my office.
I'm about to
Got
order
stickers all over.
Okay, yeah, and we're going. The magnets are pretty popular now too, but that's the merch. You gotta always have your merch game going.
You got to have the merch. You got to, and I'm trying to think about my logo. The what I can do with the Anecdotes logo. The A with the exclamation point.
Yeah.
But who knows? No, but this is what's more important today is the White Donut. Now you were talking before we were so rudely interrupted by the thunderstorms about doing your legacy video, and
Yeah.
and I love the story. I'm going to flash back to that story
Yeah.
that you told about your mom and what she
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, during our wedding
During
night.
your wedding night, and that
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of got me into the purpose of like if we're gonna film and document and just there's a lot of things you can do. You can chase money, you can go do all these things, but filming with a purpose and like actually to sit down in front of someone and have them speak about life and knowing that in future generations are gonna look back at this. We have the technology, we have the capability of letting people see like your past generations and what they meant. And it's like to go through since my mom was like my best friend and like to have her in a video say I love you, just breathe. I'll have to get you to that video just to see. It's just so powerful, and it's just such a moment that really helped center me. And I had a lot of PTSD after. I didn't know as a caretaker you would go through that. And that like 3 years of going through cancer, and like we spent like 75 days in one room in MD Anderson, didn't leave, and like she battled, but she also joked around and was really funny. We were a team, like we were always like, all right, we're in Disney World. Here's this day, and like, and it was always about other people. She made everybody else feel good and joke around.
That's good.
So, but that got me into like when I saw that video and my friend during our wedding like made sure that she left some messages. It just resonated with me. It's like, how can I do this for other people? And I feel like it's really important to just film with passion and purpose. And it's not just about, oh, how do I go get money or do this? Because when you do that, you get really anxious and anxiety. And it's like, I can't live in that world anymore. I have to live with purpose and the rest will come. And that's like where I found more purpose right now of why I want to film and how I film. And granted, I'll still do like real estate videos. I'll still do large productions. I'll take on anything that I can. And then, but I still, the purpose in filming with legacy videos, that just seems more of like the truth, getting rid of everything else and just more clarity to me.
I like that. I mean, I've seen or actually heard commercials on the radio for on different radio programs about companies around here that do legacy videos, and I'm thinking, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
How does that work?
Yeah, and I think I honestly, so where I know that I'll be different with it is that it's a kind of a relationship that I've been gifted with. Like I worked in Malaysia with orangutans, and I worked in Africa with baboons, and I studied animal behavior. So I understood animal instincts and like love through my mom when we were kids, just like respect animals. And like there was this fun like thing that like she taught me, and I feel like that relationship kind of went in hand with humans, and there was like a truth that we all had together. And then when you find that purpose, that's a real beautiful thing to have. And that's when you can get someone to open up. I noticed like I'd be in the airport, but then this guy's telling me about his life story. But then we're really like just like we're two humans just relating to each other and talking. And I feel like that's how legacy videos with me really were different from just like a lot of people were going to people like, oh, this, ABC. And then like just it's a cookie cutter, like in and out, and there's no truth to it. So I want to be more personal with that, but also it's not about like posting the video the next day on Facebook to get 5,000 likes or whatever.
Right.
It's bigger than that. It's like for your family. It's for you. It's something maybe you just put away and say, read this or look at this when I die, or you know what I mean. And I feel like there's some purpose in there that is just so. It's just that's the art to me. That's the beauty of life. And like if I can give that to other people, what I got from my mom's video, that's like why I do what I do, and that's just really that's giving you a lot of fuel.
I love that. I love that. It's real quick story on my end here. A long time ago, land far, far away. I thought that I wanted to get into doing weddings
Okay, yeah.
because that's a big money thing, and I was looking at the money. I was looking at
I was there
all that
before.
stuff. And
Yeah.
the weddings. And I started working for a company and as an editor. So they would shoot the weddings on weekends, and I'd get the tapes all done on SVHS tapes, and I would edit the tapes into that week. Like I had 3 weddings and edit 3 tapes. Okay, no big deal, and that was fine. But then I started to really see what was going on. It was a formula.
Yeah,
It was,
exactly.
Shoot this, cutting of the cake, first dance, blah, blah, blah.
Everything, yeah.
Everything was a formula. And then even the special add-ons, were all very formulaic.
Yeah,
It was like
very cookie cutter,
the shot,
very
the shot, the shot,
structural.
done.
Yeah.
And while it might look special to the family, to the bride and groom,
Because it's their first time experiencing it.
exactly. They
Yeah,
go, oh,
it's
this
their
is
moment. It's
wonderful.
their only time they're experiencing it. There is no compare and contrast to what they're getting. They're
Exactly.
gonna love it
They're
regardless.
gonna love it regardless.
Yeah.
So it was like that was the thing. So I was like, I don't want to do weddings. Is
Yeah.
it lucrative? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money doing
Oh yeah.
weddings, but it's like, why would I want to do this?
You,
You-
that's kind of like it really weddings. So I went through that same path in a lot of ways, and running major events and running like a crew of like 9 to 12 and like different weddings taught me how to really respond in a moment where you have no control of like this is happening. So that's where I realized I didn't want to do a lot of like I could have just focused on weddings and
Right.
and been there, but I didn't want to chase the money and just be in that because that could have easily happened. But I was the same way, but I realized that I was grateful for the experience through the weddings because they taught me to go through some moments where it's like, all right, you don't get the first kiss again. You don't get
No,
this.
you don't.
Your battery's there, you're there. And so I like that, but I use that for my event shooting of like that kind of like, all right, this is your only shot to get it. And that's why I really like events because you can't structure anything. It's happening. And
No.
like no matter what, it's happening. And you gotta know how to respond at that moment.
Yeah.
Is your ISO too high? Or is the temperature right in that camera? Is the sound even on? Like all these things go through, but I love that adrenaline of like you just don't know with it. And
That's actually how you would shoot an event. How you would shoot. I mean, there are certain things you like in a wedding. You have to get the vows. You have to
Yeah.
get the procession, and that's all formulaic.
yeah, exactly.
But when you're at the reception or beforehand, you just like you don't know what's going to happen. And if you try to keep it the same thing, okay, get out of the limo, get into the church or whatever you're going to do, it gets boring.
Exactly.
But like you're saying, for any event, if you're out there just you're capturing, you're viewing it,
Yeah.
and
You're
this
finding
is-
the moment, the
you're
energy.
finding the moment and the
Yeah.
energy. People are gonna love that.
Yeah. And they
because
respond to you.
it's unique.
Yeah, and they respond to. There's moments where those crowds were just silent, and like it was kind of weird on the stage. Something was going technical, but I noticed the way that I was filming someone on stage, the crowd would look that way, and it's like, wow, you can really have a whole crowd engage on you at that moment, but you're like kind of the show at that moment. But then also with weddings, I didn't like how these rigs were getting big and like these lights, and I'm like, what isn't this about the bride? Like, why are we? And so even at my wedding, I did the videographer, like the videography, and my friend kind of like a little bit, but we didn't do all that because I kind of wanted it like kind of hidden in our own moments.
Right.
So it's kind of like sometimes you don't need to capture everything, and like, but now it's like I see some of these weddings they have gear on, gimbal, and like, but it's like, are you some? And it's granted the films can come out amazing, but it's like. Sometimes it seems like it's more of like a showboat thing and like, oh, look at what I did, than really the energy of the truth. And that's why I do like the legacy videos because it's getting rid of all the BS. It's going straight into like life and like there is no like you're not faking that. That's like just
No.
the truth of what you're trying to leave behind and what you want someone to know like what do you think life was about, or what would you want to told like someone that you might not be here in 5 days? What would you want to tell them? And that starts coming out to like, whoa, okay, that's real talk. That's a whole different thing, and that's why working with breast cancer survivors, like I've worked with probably over 600 breast cancer survivors, and we've lost a lot. We've had like great friends, and like, but there's also so much like truth in it, and just so much pureness of it that really guides you. And so now I want to work with passion and purpose, but I still need to make money. I still need to do like my real estate videos and everything. But it kind of like you do all this together. It's like you don't just do one thing. You can do a variety of everything. And that's what kind of keeps me going. Yeah.
Well, do you do you do other things? I know
Yeah.
than just that, like music videos or bands.
Yeah. Anywhere from, so like a big spectrum of the board is like, so we did a Habitat had a 10-year anniversary, so they brought like Sheryl Crow in, they brought Anna Sophia Robb,
wow.
they brought like I sat next to Randy Newman next to his feet playing the piano, and I felt like a kid, and I just felt so honored to be in these moments just to be able to experience that. But then I've also like done really like free events, like the Fontainebleau State Park had a all-inclusive park open, and I went and I volunteered to do work there for a friend, and that was was actually a friend of my wife at their school. And so I kind of like, even if it's like money or not money, it's just kind of like being there to use your talents for people. And then those connections happen. And then someone's like, oh, I saw you work. Do you like, oh, I do this. Do you want to do that? And like, I can go a month of like doing free work the whole month. And then the next month I start making money. And it's kind of like you just trust that it's going to happen and you don't worry about the money. And when I used to worry about the money, I used to get so anxious. Like, can I pay this? Can I do this? And like, I just can't do that no more. It's just, and then now it's like really, the more that I've done a lot of free work, the more it's really led into a lot of like, whoa, okay, this guy really doesn't, he's not just saying, what's our budget? Like, what can he get from us? It's like, no, you're investing in me to help you become, like, we're trying to get across your content. I'm trying to like come across what can I do to help you,
Right.
but also show that like your video, you're paying for a video. It's not just this one-time thing. You're actually you're developing into your marketing. You can splice that video into 1,000 different ways, and people are starting to learn that. Like I can take one video and make it so many different things. So I'm kind of going more into like marketing and content to say I can create these things with you and do these different things. But it's like also you gotta kind of teach the public, like, because it's new to a lot of people. They're like, wait, what do you mean? How do we do this? Like, and it's just so it's like a learning game, but it's also like you're playing so many different like fields in that moment. You just got to be like, you got to be the lighting guy, you got to be the audio guy, you got to be the tech guy, you got to be the marketing guy, you got to consult, you got to do everything. But I love that. That's kind of like why I like production work, because it's like you got to put that tool belt on and you got to do everything together. See that fly going around?
I love it.
I'm really good at snatching flies out there. It's just,
Well, no, it's an animal. You got to let him do his thing.
oh, I'll let it go peacefully. I won't kill it. My wife, she'll go like squish like a bug on the ground, and I'm like, why would you do that? Don't do that.
Well, one of the things about this studio, when I first moved in here and started to renovate it, put up the brick wall and all that fun stuff,
Brick by brick.
there was a lizard, one of the green animal lizards that everybody has lizards, and he was just on the wall and just enjoying himself, and so I tried to grab him and he moved. I tried to grab him and he got away from me. I wanted to put him outside, and I was like, oh well, he's in here somewhere, and I figured I'd come in one day and find him, deceased, and I'd have to have a little funeral for the lizard, but. Came in later and no, he was back on the wall. He was fine. And then another one and then another one. And so I think every week I'm grabbing 2 or 3 of them and putting them outside.
That's
but
good
like
Louisiana living right there.
Oh, it's awesome. But they're the pets of the studio. I think if the studio needs a logo, it's going to be a lizard.
Yeah,
it has to
that's a good
because they live here. But
well, they're eating the flies. That's
that one fly. It's that one fly that's been bugging us. But it's fine. Boy, I'm so off track on that.
That's me. I can go into 1,000 different subjects, and so I live on a farm of sanctuary animals, and that's another thing. I do a lot of I raised an opossum named Little Miss. I'm doing a kids book off of her called Helping Hand right now, and I'm animating it, and I do voices too. So I'll do voices for the book.
Oh wow!
And then I'll be able to have that. But she got over like 6.5 million views on YouTube for Geo Beats. And she raised all this money for them, and
wow.
and
I
became an advocate for opossums and I say opossums because opossum is a totally different species of animal that so you have possums that live in
Australia,
I think, exactly, New Zealand and even South America, but then the Virginia opossum lives in America and it's our only marsupial. So, but video helped me just because during COVID, I was just showing the passion of like raising this little baby orphan opossum that I raised. I released a bunch of them and they all never came back. And so I was used to doing animal rehabilitation and putting them into the wild and then not come back. But she was different. She just had this compassion and this love. And so I'd film and I do video photography, but then those stories ended up getting picked up and then people were just paying attention. And then, so that many people responded only off of one video. I had 6.5 million people. Wow. And then even on there, that was when I lost my mom. I would go back to those videos and people would say the nicest comments and just be there and supporting you. And it's strangers that you don't even know, guiding you as therapy through it. And you'll get your trolls and your comments and funny, but I don't mind that at all. It's just life.
Well, here's the thing. It's you weren't, when you posted the video about Little Miss, it wasn't you were trying to get likes. You weren't trying to get views.
Exactly.
It just happened. And this is something
pure,
that
just a connection.
Right. People need to understand. It's like
Yeah.
I see so many kids, like the kids that I
It's
taught.
about an ego
They
or
want to like
me.
look at me, look at what
Yeah.
I did, and that's not what it's about. It's like
Yeah.
you find something that appeals to you and that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You put it out there. If somebody else likes it, great. If they don't, great.
Exactly.
I did a YouTube video once explaining my equipment that I used for a live stream, and it was like just something that I wanted to do. I wanted to
Exactly.
see I could
Like a
do it.
passion.
And I put it out there, and it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, it had 250,000 views. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You're
really?
like, what happened?
And then I started, well, let me make another one. Let me make another one. And those did not get any views.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Yeah.
just that's the thing. You don't do it
That's
for
art,
views.
you know?
do it for the art. You do it because you want to do it.
Exactly. And that's when a lot of people are like, oh, like, how do I get published by National Geographic? Like, what do I do to do that? It's like, well, that's where you're going wrong right now. Like, don't search for them. Let them search for you. Like, we actually got published through my company, White Donut Productions, the second time by National Geographic through Habitat by doing just work that we were helping out and doing that. But it was kind of funny because twice in my life, like, I always wanted to work for National Geographic. That was like my goal, to work with animals. But then they found me in that point, and it's like, wow, like, we're doing something that we're just helping out, and we're making money through it too, but it's a fun, like, we're building houses, and like, we're documenting, and we're helping out. And then, like, they discovered us through that, and then we got published again. So it's just like, the more that you work with a passion of why you're working, the rest will follow. And then that's like there's so many kids that are just not seeing that right now and understanding, because they're brought up in this world of social media and like the likes and the views. How do I get the car? How do I get this? How do I do that? And it's like, even the like high-end celebrity people or people I'm around that have that, they're just like, wait, you're missing the point. Like, I didn't get this from that. But there's a big thing right now. I hope kids like end up learning that they follow the passion of why they're doing things.
That's right.
And that's going to be a big change.
And you don't know why something's going to get liked or picked up.
Yeah.
Something that I saw yesterday, I think it was the photographer who won the Pulitzer Prize
Yeah.
for an accidental shot. He was
Yeah.
out at Butler taking a picture of Trump, and he happened to catch the shot, the picture he took of Trump talking. There's nothing big about that.
Yeah.
But there was a streak behind him, and that was the bullet.
Oh my goodness.
And it was he just happened to be in the right place at
Yeah.
the right time. And because of that, he won a Pulitzer Prize.
Wow.
So it's not about like, I'm
Yeah, I
going to
haven't
go
seen that
try to
photo.
do it. It's, I had to find it, and I looked
Yeah.
at it. Yeah, you can see it. It's like just
Yeah.
a blur, you know,
Yeah,
but
and he's probably like one of those cameras.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Shooting like,
and it's just, you're shooting somebody talking, which
Yeah.
is not exactly that
Yeah.
interesting. But you have something like that, and it's accidental.
Yeah.
You're doing something that you really enjoy, and you do it for you.
Exactly.
And if somebody else likes it, great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like this podcast. I'd like people to actually,
Yeah.
I want y'all to watch this podcast, but or listen to it at least. You will listen. You will listen. But it's not about that. It's not about me. You
Yeah.
know, it's about like, I have a passion for this stuff.
Yeah.
I love talking to people. I love talking
Exactly.
about these
Different
topics,
stories,
the
creating, and
different
like,
stories.
and everybody has a different story or different testimony.
Right.
And it's like, we only get that by listening to each other and opening up to like,
Yeah.
wait, that's how that person did that, or how that happened, or,
Exactly. And if somebody else gets that out of
Yeah.
it, great. I'm a
Yeah.
success. If not, great. I
Yeah.
had a great time,
Yeah.
even through the thunder and the rain. And
and it could be one kid that decides like, hey, wait, I can do this. Like, I didn't know you can just not go get a summer job at a restaurant, and you can like actually make money by getting a little drone license and getting certificate, and then just going to do real estate, and then that turns into a couple $100s, and then they get more equipment, but then they're filming for like a big movie scene because they figured out the path. It's like there's too much of the kind of like what the weddings are saying. There's too much structural things, and I think the more that we get kids out of the path of like this continuous structural thing that they
Right.
think, then we can start seeing some different things happening, and it's exciting for us because then we can work with them, and then they can teach us. And
Right.
kids these days are teaching me so many new fun things about like when we're filming. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you can do that with your camera? And like especially the kids that play Fortnite all the time.
oh yeah,
It's amazing of how good of operating drones like these kids are. I'm like, that's why, like, your mom might have said don't play Fortnite for this, but you're doing really well right now, and we're gonna show you how you can make a lot of money doing this. But don't let that go to waste. Like, you like
Right.
use your talent. Don't just go play Fortnite all the time, but learn. Like, you have hand-eye coordination now that is amazing. And like now, like, learn different skills. Like, maybe learn what a drone pilot does, and like look at people that do certain jobs, but they just don't know. They're like, well, I don't know what that is. So it's like you almost got to tell them, like, well, I got to fly a drone and put it in front of Drew Brees' face, and like we were flying it, and like, but then the guy was sweating that got the memory card from me, and he corrupted the file, and we lost that file. That's technology for you, and you're
That's
just
technology.
like, well,
Yeah.
and so
Gotta-
it's, you
gotta
just
have
never
backups.
know.
You got it. Yeah, you never know. And that's true. Now the kids thing, I love that because there are times, many times,
Yeah.
that when I'm at school and I know my technology,
Yeah.
but a kid will come up and show me something that I had not seen before.
Yeah.
And you have to be open to it. It's
Oh,
like,
that's the perfect being open minded to everybody. Like,
yeah.
in every level, like even like from high end of like knowing everything, it's like the ones that think they know everything, that's the ones that like your energy when you go to work with like jobs, it just doesn't work out. But the ones that are just like really, oh wait, we can do this, and like open mind, that's when the art like really takes off, and like that's the fun productions. But then when you work with clients that are just like very strict, they know the routine, they know it, it's just like it gets very daunting, and you're just like, this is not where I want to be. But you still got to pay the bills and you still do the job. But it's like, I don't really want to be around that. But like, that's what I love about kids, because they constantly are like, wait, can we do this? Well, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, why aren't I doing that? That's a really good idea. So staying open minded, especially with everything going on, like, and technology is going crazy right now.
I know. I love it. Well, I think that we're going to kind of end it right there. This has been
This is great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I've had a great night tonight, even
this
through
setup
all the
is-
technical.
yeah. And we're like
full
tech
pause
geeks,
we've
so
had.
we like you know, that's the word anymore. Geek. Like, what's a geek? Like,
Well, a geek was usually a carnival person who bit the heads off chickens, but that's the original meaning of the term. But then when they
got a
talk
lot of
geek, is
chickens.
somebody who's nerding out, who's which is also a
Yeah.
bad term. But embrace your inner geek. It
yeah.
doesn't
Oh, I
matter.
love the weirder. Like, that's my name. I have a Silly Dilly is my like Silly Dilly Animal Sanctuary. That's my Instagram for my animals, and it's like the weirder the better. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's
Have
just
fun.
like be yourself.
Just
don't
have fun.
care.
Don't worry about what anybody else says. Don't
Follow
worry
your
about the
passion.
trolls say. Follow your passion.
Yeah.
And you know, really seriously, that is the way we need to go. We need to follow our passions.
Exactly.
I have had a wonderful time tonight.
Yeah,
I really have. I mean,
Yeah.
we've gone through all sorts of different things. It's been a great episode. Like I said, even through all the
pleasure.
technical difficulties that we've had.
Yeah. Rainstorms, tornado
Rainstorm.
watches, flies,
Flies,
technology.
all that fun stuff. So tune in next time, and we'll have some more fun on the Anecdotes video podcast. Appreciate y'all.
Awesome.
Thanks to our sponsors, La Film Studios and the Abita Springs International Film Festival. If you want to sponsor the Anecdotes video podcast or be a guest, please email us at anecdotes@lafilm.net. Anecdotes is recorded in the 36 and 59 studio in beautiful Abita Springs, Louisiana.